This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
Islamic State leader al-Baghdadi targeted by U.S. forces as Trump plans major statement today. Ethiopia's Prime Minister promises to bring perpetrators of Oromia violence to justice after 67 people die. And U.S. military reinforcements cross into eastern Syria from Iraq to protect oil fields. This is CGTN. Welcome to Africa Live with me, Beatrice Marshall, in Nairobi. Also coming up on the program, style, fashion and entrepreneurial spirit on display at the Kayelitsa Fashion Week in Cape Town. And in your sports, Kenya sets sights on overall title at the first Africa Roller Games in Kinshasa. We begin with a major story developing in the Middle East. U.S. media is reporting that American forces may have killed the leader of ISIL. Reports say a raid in northwestern Syria may have taken out Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. The raid was approved by U.S. President Donald Trump about a week ago. Earlier, the U.S. leader tweeted, "Something very big has just happened," end of tweet. The White House says Trump plans to make a major statement Sunday morning, local time. Now, who is Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi and why is his alleged killing such a big deal for the United States and the world at large? Well, here is Noah Otieno with a brief insight into the man.
Since its formation in 1990, Al-Qaeda was seen as a major threat to global security due to its terror activities. However, the rise of ISIL 9 years later refocused the world's attention to this group, whose brand of radical Islamism horrified even leaders of Al-Qaeda. At the center of ISIL's violent acts of murder and human abuse was said to be this man, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. Born in 1971 in Baghdad, Iraq, his real name is Ibrahim Awad Ibrahim al-Badri. He is an accomplished Islamic scholar, with some reports indicating that he holds a doctorate degree in Islamic studies from the Saddam University. Until the U.S. invasion of Iraq in 2003, al-Baghdadi was a preacher in one of the mosques in Baghdad. However, his moment of transformation to the prominent leader of the most feared terrorist group happened after his incarceration at the Abu Ghraib prison. Some analysts have branded Abu Ghraib as the incubator of terrorism. The prison has been blamed for the emergence of hardened terrorist groups in the Middle East region. Former Al-Qaeda leader Abu Musab al-Zarqawi is another former Abu Ghraib detainee. Upon his release, al-Baghdadi would later head the Al-Qaeda branch in Iraq, which was then called Islamic State of Iraq. After the killing of Al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden, al-Baghdadi later changed the name of the group to Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, or ISIL, as he spread the group's influence in Syria and the entire region. His violent campaigns and initial military successes against the fragmented armies of Iraq and Syria attracted radicalized elements from different countries, including the West. The March 2011 Syrian uprising was a catalyst for ISIL. But a combined international military response led to the defeat of ISIL in the Middle East in August 2019. Al-Baghdadi has been reported killed severally, only to re-emerge with more threats. However, ISIL's ideologies have already spread across the world, with Africa still feeling the brunt of ISIL's brand of radicalization. So far, Egypt, Tunisia, Libya and West Africa have been grappling with ISIL's grim legacy. The group has also been spreading its activities in East Africa through a breakaway group of Somali-based Al-Shabaab. Now, CGTN.
Well, Amy McConaughey takes a look at the terror networks of ISIL in Africa as the group seeks to entrench its footprint on the continent.
On the 18th of April, ISIL claimed responsibility for an attack in the Democratic Republic of Congo's Bovata town in Beni. 3 Congolese soldiers were killed and 5 others wounded. The incident raised fears from security agencies in the region, for this was the first time that the group was claiming to have carried out an attack in the Great Lakes region. A Ugandan militant group called Allied Defence Forces has been operating in Beni. This could be yet another instance that ISIL is infiltrating an Islamic group. Not a big surprise, for ISIL has established its footprints in various regions of Africa. The first region that this group entrenched itself was in Egypt's Sinai. Here it operates under the ISIL Sinai province. The Egyptian government has been battling insurgents associated to this group ever since 2013. From here, the group's activities have been felt in Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, and even Sudan. The Islamic State in West Africa Province, or ISWAP, was formed as a splinter group of Boko Haram. ISWAP has been responsible for deadly attacks and kidnappings in Nigeria's Borno state, with Maiduguri feeling the brunt of its brazen attacks. The group has also scaled up operations in the West African region in the recent past, with countries such as Mali, Mauritania, Niger, Cameroon, and Burkina Faso being on the receiving end. In East Africa, ISIL has a presence through an al-Shabaab breakaway group. The group's East African representative is called Jabba East Africa. Jabba East Africa broke away from al-Shabaab in 2016. Kenya and Somalia have been the worst affected. Although still in its formative stages, the Jabba East Africa group has been a thorn in the flesh of the Kenyan government, with operations concentrated in the Boni forest. ISIL could be vanquished in Iraq and Syria for now, but if the attacks in Sri Lanka are anything to go by, it's not yet quite time to pop the champagne. Amy McConaughey, CGTN.
Well, let's get a deeper take on this unfolding story. I'm joined live from Cairo by Samir Ragib. He's the chairman, Arab Foundation for Strategic Studies. Mr. Ragib, thank you for joining us on Africa Live. Now, if the tests confirm that indeed al-Baghdadi has been killed, what would this mean for the future of ISIL?
I think the future of ISIS will not depend on the surviving of al-Baghdadi, because the affiliation for the what's so-called Islamic State, not al-Baghdadi himself. In another example, al-Qaeda continue after Osama bin Laden, but we can see it increase its force and expanding in new provinces or new countries. I think al-Baghdadi lower than bin Laden from all the characteristic, not has the charismatics of Osama bin Laden, does not has the history of struggle against Soviet Union. Osama bin Laden in the front line of what called al-Jihad, struggle against Soviet Union.
Right.
I think al-Baghdadi during his domination, not a famous one. No one know him in the first beginning.
Well, al-Baghdadi may not be a famous one, but we do know that ISIL has spread its tentacles onto the African soil, in the Sahel, in the Horn of Africa region. So what has contributed to al-Baghdadi's success, though, in inspiring new recruits, even in Africa?
Yes, al-Baghdadi just invite the affiliated to compose a new proxies, a new provinces, and not al-Baghdadi himself that attract the what's so-called mujahideen or the terrorists groups. The idea of the Islamic State, the idea not established by al-Baghdadi himself, like the report Abu Mus'ab al-Zarqawi 2003, and after this, but al-Baghdadi has the brand name of the current version of the Islam, what's so called Islamic State. But who join the Islamic State admired by the idea of the Islamic State, the ideology of the Islamic State, the group that shifted from al-Qaeda to the Islamic State admired by and believed by the idea, not by al-Baghdadi himself. From my own point of view, maybe the killing of al-Baghdadi increase the capacity and for the proxies and the sleeper cells in Africa and elsewhere, because the local groups that affiliated to the Islamic State,
right,
al-Baghdadi, will try to send a message that killing of al-Baghdadi will not stop us to expand in our local area, like Boko Haram, like in Sinai Peninsula, like in Libya, like in elsewhere.
All right. Samir Rajib joining us there from Cairo with that update. Thank you. Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has warned of further instability. He has vowed to bring to justice those responsible for violence that left at least 67 people dead since Wednesday. In a statement issued by his office on Saturday, Prime Minister Abiy noted that what began as protests against his government had quickly morphed into clashes that took on an ethnic and religious dimension. Eyewitnesses say the demonstrations in Oromia state are ethnically tinged and were triggered after Ethiopian Oromo activist Jawar Mohammed claimed authorities had ringed his home in Addis Ababa and tried to withdraw his government security detail. The United Nations says the clashes have already internally displaced more than 2 million people. The Ministry of Defense deployed its forces in cities and towns of Oromia regional state. The country's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed this month won the coveted Nobel Peace Prize for making peace with Ethiopia's longtime foe, Eritrea. And as the country approaches elections in 2020, the sweeping political reforms he has overseen have empowered the opposition. CGTN's Girum Chala is in Addis Ababa. He's joining me now for an update on the protests in Ethiopia. Girum, the death toll from the Oromia violence is said to be at least 67 now. What is the latest on this?
Beatrice, well, the number is more than 67. That's what we're hearing from different sites. But the confirmation we've got from security forces from here, the police itself, and also official government sources, that it says around 67 at the moment. The unfortunate incident, just to take you a bit back, has happened across the Oromia region, one of the largest regions in the country, and it was, you know, the security detail removal issue of Jawar Mohammed, one of the prominent activists of the country, that has brought all of this incident to happen in the country. And we know that the death toll could be rising, as some people are also in hospitals because of the injuries they have incurred due to the violence. Some have been hit by rocks, some have been hit by sticks and bullets at the same time. And from the death, there are at least 6 policemen who have been killed. So the situation was really, really unfortunate in the country, and the death toll, as we know it, is 67, and as I was saying earlier, it could even rise because of the number of people who are injured and are attending medical attention at the moment, Beatrice.
Well, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed Girum has spoken about this incident. How has the government been handling the protests so far?
Well, the Prime Minister was in Sochi, as you remember, for the Russia-Africa Summit, and that's when this whole incident happened. After his return, he has released a statement, a strong statement perhaps, calling for justice to be served against those people who are called perpetrators, those people who committed crime against the innocent people who have been killed in the Oromia region. Now, the government's way of handling the matter could be a bit of controversial because of the situation. This incident has happened in the largest region of the country, and there were so many people involved in it, and it's beyond the security details themselves, force themselves, police and others to handle it. That's why the army has involved in most places across the country, and that's how things were calming down. Also because of Jawar Mahmoud's call and other elderlies of the Oromo elites who have called for the end of the protests that were happening, the road closures and other things that were happening across the country. Now we can say that the whole situation is calm. There is no protest going on. There is no road closure that we are seeing in the country. And it's safe also to say that the return of the violence is minimal at the moment, and the government is trying to clean up the mess that has been created so far.
So, Girum, the protest is at a minimal at the moment, and Oromia State, as you mentioned, is the largest region of the country. Prime Minister Abiy, though, as you mentioned as well, is promising swift action to bring to justice the perpetrators of the violence. How has that statement been received, though, in Oromia?
Well, some people expected the Prime Minister to be much more aggressive than the statement that was released. Most people support the fact that he is clinging into serving justice and also being there for those people who have been affected. There were people who are internally displaced because of this unfortunate incident, and there are also people who are still attending medical attention, as I was saying earlier, and are also trying to return to normalcy. Shops were burned down, churches were also attacked, and other places. Now, also at the same time, Prime Minister Abiy's statement is a guarantee for most people that such incidents will not be left without particular government attention. The government is promising that it will bring those people who are behind this into justice. And how they're going to do it is not mentioned in the Prime Minister's statement, but he has encouraged all people in the country to come together in the name of being Ethiopian and avoid this ethnic-based violence or other things which could take the country to unnecessary places of perhaps a civil war kind of a situation. Now, people, as we've mentioned, are really not into the same boat, if you like, of receiving his statement.
Right.
One thing that can be surely said, however, Beatrice, is the Prime Minister has promised that he will work with the people and security details to bring an end to this situation and also bring those people into justice.
Girum Chala joining us there from Addis Ababa with an update from Ethiopia. Thank you. You're watching Africa Live, still ahead on the program. Crackdown on torture houses continues in Nigeria as another 108 people are rescued. And traditional medicine gains popularity in Ghana amid calls for more funding for research.
Each day, there are millions of stories. Each one can open new perspectives, new possibilities. Wherever you look, we are there to see, discover, explore. We put the pieces together to find what really matters to you, all around the world, all around the clock. Our reporters are at home across the globe. From our headquarters in Beijing and production centers in Washington, Nairobi, and London, China Global Television Network. Stories from across the globe, reaching people across the globe. CGTN. See the difference.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
Washington has started sending reinforcements to eastern Syria. A convoy of around 13 military vehicles has crossed into the country from Iraq. Officials say it is to prevent ISIL from seizing Syrian oil fields. This comes out just after weeks after U.S. President Donald Trump promised to pull American forces from Syria. Meanwhile, Syria and Russia are sending extra troops to the border with Turkey. Russia says about 300 military police officers have arrived to patrol a new route. And in Iraq, at least 15 people were killed and dozens injured on Saturday. This brings the total to at least 67 people dead and nearly 2,600 injured after 2 days of clashes between protesters and police. Members of the elite counter-terrorism service were ordered onto the streets of major cities Saturday night to contain the anger against Prime Minister Adel Abdul Mahdi. In Baghdad, counter-terrorism forces were deployed around important state buildings. This is the second outburst of clashes during protests this month. Earlier, 157 people were killed, many of them protesters shot by snipers and security forces in similar clashes. To Nigeria now, where there's a continuing clampdown on illegal rehabilitation networks across the country. Another 108 persons have been released from a similar center in central Kwara State. And according to authorities, most of those that have been rescued are in a terrible condition. CGTN's Kelechi Emekalam with the details.
The Kwara State Police Commissioner, Kayode Egbetoku, told newsmen that his command acted on receiving vital information about the center. A total 108 persons were rescued, 5 of them females. Most of them had various forms of infections and diseases. The inmates were brought in there by their parents to be treated for issues ranging from drug addiction to mental illness. The victims say they had been starved, severely tortured, and even sexually abused. The parents pay between $50 and $800 to such centers to enroll their children there. Operators are being detained by the police and would be prosecuted after investigations. Just days back, President Buhari issued a directive to the police to clamp down on all illegal rehab centers across the country. Over 1,000 persons have so far been freed from torture houses in the past month. Kelechi Emekalam, CGTN Abuja, Nigeria.
And Kelechi Emekalam is staying with us for the moment, where poor diet in Nigeria is affecting the growth rate of nearly 50% of children in the country. That's according to a recent report by the UN Children's Agency, UNICEF. The report indicates that children are at risk of poor mental and psychological development, and in some cases, even death. Take a listen.
A routine check for children and their mothers at this primary healthcare facility to ensure that all is well. Recent reports from UNICEF indicates a number of children in Nigeria, at least 49% of them, are at risk of poor brain development, weak learning, low immunity, increased infection, and in many cases, death. That's because they aren't fed food rich enough to ensure optimal growth.
We have about 13 million children who are stunted. And what this means is that these children may not live to reach to the full potentials of what they can do. And that could affect the productivity at the individual level, but also as a country. And so it directly have impact on the progress and growth of Nigeria, but also as individuals and their family.
Experts say infants should be breastfed exclusively for a minimum of 6 months to ensure healthy development and growth. And older children would need a balanced diet with vegetables, fruits, local cereals high in nutritional value. But attaining that has become increasingly difficult for a country where insecurity and the effects of climate change has cut agricultural production. What's more, over 91 million of the 200 million population are extremely poor. Experts suggest that government intensifies efforts at funding and investing in food and nutrition policies.
Every dollar that you invest in stunting reduction, then you're getting about $16 return. So that is huge kind of return of investment. So if I were the government, I think one of the smart investments to do is to invest in nutrition. And imagine investing to treat 13 million children. The rate of investment that you're going to get is huge. And I think it's more of an opportunity than a challenge for the government to take advantage of it, to make sure that we use the simple, proven methods and interventions that are working to reduce malnutrition.
Statistics from this report makes Nigeria the second African country with the highest rate of children having growth-related issues after the Democratic Republic of Congo. Many here are hopeful that adequate funding would be made for nutrition policies in order to change the narrative and place Nigeria's future generation on a growth path. Kelechi Amekalam, CGTN Abuja, Nigeria.
And in Ghana, many people use both traditional and herbal medicine for treatment. The World Health Organization estimates that there are over 100,000 traditional medicine practitioners across the country. However, there are concerns that many of the plants and herbs used for treatment face extinction. Some traditional medicine practitioners are calling for more funding into the research of plant medicine in the country. CGTN's Nabil Ahmed Rufai reports from Accra.
Dr. Whitney Ankra is a traditional medicine practitioner working at the Herbal Technology Clinic in Accra. She says better research and documentation of plant medicine in Ghana would help her to treat patients.
If we do not know what these plants out there have and then how they can help in treating various disease conditions, it means that our diagnosis or our medication prescriptions are always skewed. We'll keep running to the same herbs over and over again, and then eventually we're going to lose the herbs because they may go extinct.
Both traditional or herbal medicine are integral to healthcare in Ghana. However, indigenous knowledge about herbal medicines of many Ghanaian cultures has not yet been investigated. The World Health Organization estimates that about 80% of developing countries depend on traditional medicines for their primary healthcare needs. In Ghana, the history of medicinal plants and herbs, like the ones sold in this market, has been passed down through generations as oral tradition and are largely undocumented. Ghana has now established a body to monitor and regulate the herbs used by healers to prevent their extinction due to overuse. The Traditional Medicine Practice Council is expected to document and help replant diminishing medicinal plants in the country. Fulera Chamba has been selling herbs at this market for decades. She says some of the plants are endangered as a result of deforestation in some parts of the country.
It would be great to document these herbs. This could help a lot of people easily identify them when they come into the market to buy.
Practitioners say more funding is also needed into the research of plant medicine.
It has a lot of prospects, but it has very little funding. So we need to invest more in that field, that department, whatever it is, because every day, if we are to even find research on one plant every day throughout the year, that's 365 plants.
Dr. Ankra says the research and documentation of plant medicine could boost the practice of traditional herbal medicine in Ghana. She believes it would give practitioners like her more alternatives using herbs in the treatment of their patients, while also preserving the country's heritage. Nabil Ahmed Rufai, CGTN, Accra, Ghana.
You're watching Africa Live. Still ahead on the program. Style of fashion and entrepreneurial spirit on display at the Khayelitsha Fashion Week in Cape Town. And Botswana's president-elect says he will boost cooperation with China to help his country's economy grow.
Africa is the nexus of enterprise, and global business will tell you why it matters.
From the mega investment projects to multi-billion-dollar mergers and acquisitions.
Africa today collects, just in terms of revenues from taxes alone, $545 billion a year. If you take 10% of that and you devote it to the energy sector, problem solved.
All this on Global Business, weekdays at this time on CGTN.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
To South Africa now, where style, fashion and entrepreneurial spirit played out at a fashion extravaganza at the Khayelitsha Fashion Week in Cape Town. The event provides a platform for new and upcoming designers and models from the mainly marginalized areas. CGTN's Travers Andrews was there and filed this report.
Khayelitsha may be one of Cape Town's most marginalized communities, but the designers who hail from its streets on some of the edges and innovative talent the mother city has to offer. With not much resources and a market that has to be built from the grassroots up, the young crop of talent are pushing the fashion boundaries in all different directions. And the Khayelitsha Fashion Week is usually where they unveil their latest wares.
We've got designers who are coming from underprivileged communities that have not received any exposures in terms of showcasing their work. So this is a platform where they can be able to showcase their work, and also in close proximity. You know what I mean? So basically it's a platform for local designers to showcase their work in a local market.
The designs are modern but playful, traditional but urban, and that is just what some have managed to belt out against enormous adversity. Here, lighting in the dressing room is even a luxury. That, though, hasn't deterred these youngsters from pursuing a dream of international runways and markets that can sustain their dreams.
I don't have much resources, so that limits me. So I can't do everything I want to do. So sometimes I have a dope idea, but I can't implement because I don't have resources. So that's a big challenge for me. The lack of resources that doesn't stop me from following my passion. I'm still pushing hard, and I'm working hard on getting all the resources that I need.
A lot of designs are inspired by strong colors and patterns associated with traditional African clothing, which plays an important role in cultural identity as well.
As a designer, it's very important for me to disclose my designs so that the world could see what I'm about and what the brand is really exhibiting. And my inspiration comes from human body structures, the elements of arts, just pure arts, paintings, buildings, human body structures, as I said.
For many people, Khayelitsha Fashion Week is not just another one-way event. It's also a community event where everyone gets to participate and enjoy in a week of fun and fashion. And that includes the tremendous support that fans give to the young designers during their runway moment, with friends, family and even neighbors volunteering to lend a hand at fixing a dress or even strutting it down the runway as a model for the well-supported event. Travers Andrews, CGTN, Cape Town.
Meanwhile, on Saturday, residents of Cape Town got a chance to taste a wide array of Chinese delicacies. From Peking duck to dim sums, there were a lot of mouth-watering dishes on offer. The event was hosted by the city's Chinatown. South Africans and Chinese alike mingled in the crowd, with locals getting a chance to taste new and exciting dishes.
There are lots of markets in Cape Town, but nothing with a particularly Chinese flavor, which will introduce the South African community to the Chinese community and Chinese food. And it's also obviously to promote the shopping centers and to assist our various Chinese traders to bring more business to the centers. And we're very pleased with the turnout, and people seem to be excited to be able to taste authentic and various Chinese foods in Cape Town.
There's lots of different snacks and lots of different foods, and I think it's great that we have all of these food festivals and food markets to really show the Chinese culture and the Chinese cuisine. For a lot of us, for a lot of South Africans, they don't really know about other cultures. And I think it's a good thing because South Africa is very diverse. So it's great for every culture to show their culture and to teach all of us, you know, about the culture.
I really enjoyed the food. I came here not knowing anything, and then everybody was just like offering me things, and I don't know, it's really new. There was this one dish I tried. It had like, I don't know, sesame seeds in, and I was like, wow, I've never had this before. That's pretty cool.
The Botswana Democratic Party has secured a comfortable 38 seats out of the 57 National Assembly seats in the country's 12th democratic election. It gives the ruling party a two-thirds majority in parliament. The president-elect Mogwetsi Masisi says the party will now focus on ensuring they deliver on their election promises. CGTN's Lindy Mtongana sat down with the Chinese ambassador to Botswana, Dr. Zhao Yambo. The ambassador congratulated Mogwetsi Masisi for his election victory, adding that he looks forward to working with President-elect Masisi to take China-Botswana ties to the next level.
Just past general election, the Botswana Democratic Party has once again won the victory, and its leader, President Masisi, has been elected the President of the Republic of Botswana. As a good friend and partner of Botswana, we wish to extend our warm congratulations to President Masisi, to BDP on their victory, and to the peoples of Botswana for their successful general election. And we wish President Masisi and his new government will make every success in the coming year. And China and Botswana has a deep-rooted relationship and practical cooperation. And I wish that China will join hands with President Masisi and his new government to bring our bilateral relationship to a new high and do more cooperation to bring more benefits to our two countries and to peoples. And you know that you see China and Botswana have very good relationship, I can say. And we attach great importance to the friendship and cooperation between our two countries. We try our best to work together with Botswana side within the frameworks of a Belt and Road Initiative and a framework of a FOCAC mechanism to do more cooperation to bring more benefits to our two people and two countries. You know that Botswana is a landlocked country and it has large land, especially for the transportation really is a problem for this country. So I think later the transportation infrastructure, investment and trade, and also the exchanges of the peoples are our major priorities. Again, and I wish to work very hard to bring our two countries' relations to a new high and to bring more benefits to two countries and two peoples.
Well, on his part, Botswana's president-elect says that under his administration, the country's relations with China will continue on a path of fraternal goodwill. As Botswana seeks to further grow and diversify its economy, Masisi added that cooperation with China can help the country achieve its development priorities.
Our relations are warm, cordial, there's fraternal goodwill, and they're based entirely on our time-tested foreign policy. There's been no adjustment to our policy. Perhaps there's an adjustment to the posturing of our policy. We believe in one China, and we are a non-aligned country. We make friends in the interest of Botswana. The focus areas are dictated by our development planning, our priorities, and of course our manifesto. China has been and continues to be a world leader in R&D, in intellectual property development and ownership and innovation. We expect that we would harness a lot of these from China. Sure, to the extent that it is within our limited borrowing capacity, we will optimize on the preferential loans and grants that we get from China for our infrastructure development.
And we still have more news for you here on the program. Here's what's ahead. Influential South African artist merges recycled materials and musical sounds to create unique art.
Join us in Global Business and see Africa through our eyes. The greatest journeys, the greatest sights, the greatest adventures.
Here in Kanata, this weir allows the locals to walk on water.
We're far more than just TV news. We're your passport to the wonders of Africa.
To bring you stories of struggle, survival and hope.
So let's explore. CGTN. See the difference.
Economic data out of the country. The country's foreign currency reserves.
With a dedicated and diverse team of anchors, CGTN now brings Africa to the palm of your hand.
I'm Penina Karibe in the heart of Nairobi, which is bustling.
From everyday heroes to the continent's most powerful figures, we bring their voices to you.
We haven't changed. And this is something most of us are very excited about.
We bring you news that's changing perspectives. News that brings Africa to the world. CGTN. See the difference.
Well, let's return down south, where Daniel Selibe, better known as Stompy, has become an influential artist on the South African local scene, bringing to the fore a deep understanding and knowledge of the human condition. In his latest body of work being exhibited with Candice Berman Gallery, he finds inspiration in the merging of recycled materials and musical sounds. CGTN's Lisan Jamela has more.
Daniel Stompy Selibe describes his work as a dialogue between the image-making process, the visual representation itself, and the transformation and expression of that into vibrations and sound shared with others.
Well, my work broadly is it has different elements of lifespan, experiences, of moment, of discovery. Gets to a point where gets to an element of experimentation where it becomes a form of abstract. So you have all these ideas, formulate some excitement of not confusion but evolve of things that becomes many things in one piece. That's basically, that would be broadly my art.
Selibe's work also explores the continuity of the creative process.
Daniel Stompy Selibe is a unique artist. In fact, he's vastly different from many other artists that we've encountered. Music plays an essential role in the creation of his work.
He tells us that this new work that he has produced continues to explore and give a voice to that which is dark, hidden, unseen, that which he calls the shadows.
music becomes an element of it, of helping to carry the idea, the emotion, to try to evoke what is there, what is not there, what is the confusion. So there's a beauty that sound somehow holds to evoke, to drive the imagination of an idea. That for me, when the outcome comes, it becomes a form of an abstract.
Selibe continues to explain that his artistic process is an offering to the viewer and or audience of a different experience of art and the role of the viewer. This is evident in his work as one observes it. His artwork offers layered textures.
Well, that's very interesting because as you mentioned that I work with a lot of layers and layering. And to give a description of, I'll make one layer that becomes sometimes something that I like, or so, oh, I like the magic of it. At some point I come back and it's like, it pushes me to work on this piece. So now I'm not leading the painting, so the painting leads me into different direction, into different moment of discovering as I'm creating all these layers. That becomes different kinds of textures. It becomes seas, comes to landscapes. I can play around it to be what I want it to be.
The artist uses different materials to bring his work to life. The use of different materials, he says, helps the whole thing become a therapeutic process for himself and others. And he takes a lot of pleasure in this process. Yulisa Njamela for CGTN in Johannesburg, South Africa.
And your sports news coming up next. Here's what's ahead. Kenya sets sights on an overall title at the first Africa Roller Games in Kinshasa.